Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pecharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachachari Chatarine. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishir Anuttama ki jai, Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna. So, nice to be here with everybody. And we had a flyer. Did everybody get the handout? And if there's an extra one, I'll take it up here. You have the extra ones there? Oh, you have more there? Okay. That's because we don't know how many more people are coming. But can we kind of come a little to the center more? Can you come over here a little bit? When I was speaking with Premananda Mataji about coming to visit Naperville again, and we talked about, well, if I'm going to be here for the weekend, what are some of the things that we could do? Some ways that I could try to serve the devotees. So we thought maybe today we could do a little seminar this Saturday and talk a little bit about devotee relationships, how to build better relationships among devotees, and draw from some of the other courses and things that are there in ISKCON. We don't really... Can we just turn this to like a pause or something and save the bulb? I'm just probably going to use that just for a 1-2 minute video, either just before lunch or just after lunch. So I don't know how long it takes for it to warm up, but if there's a blank button or something we can push. Okay. How long does it take to charge it up again? Not much? Okay. So if I give you like 5 minutes notice or something, it's good? Okay, great. Okay, good. So, what I thought we can do is we're going to spend a little bit of time, kind of like a little introduction about why is it a concern to us about having good relationships with devotees, and some tips we can keep in mind. And then we're going to spend the bulk of this morning talking about a specific skill of listening skills, which is something that's helpful in terms of devotee relationships, but it's actually something that's good in terms of all our relationships. It's good to help with our friends. It's good with the family members. It's good on the work, and also very helpful with devotees. In fact, it's this particular lesson we took from the communications course, which is teaching this to devotees, how we can interact with government officials and the media and all those different kind of things. So it's a skill that's useful in many areas, but also very, very helpful with devotees. So that'll be kind of real workshop session there. We're doing real exercise. We're going to get out and practice listening to each other and learning how to listen to each other better. So that'll be a real hands-on. And then we'll have lunch. I'm thinking around 1:30. Is that good? Okay. So we'll probably break for lunch about 1:30. And then in the afternoon, we'll look a little bit more about what the Shastra says about the importance of association with devotees, and so ways that we can, how we can improve, practical ways to improve our relationships with devotees. Spend a little time talking about building trust among ourselves. And we're going to do another very nice exercise on appreciation, how to appreciate each other. We actually practice appreciation, which is sometimes harder than it seems. And then depending on time, we're going to end to look at this concept that some of you may be familiar with about emotional bank accounts. Anybody heard that term before? Emotional bank accounts? So well, if we have time, we'll go over that a little bit. It's very useful and helpful. So that's the plan. And we'll see with lunch. If there's just a few of us, we can probably lunch in half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. If it's bigger, we might need a little bit longer. But it shouldn't take a whole lot longer than that, okay? So that's the basic plan. Any questions on that? I'm sitting here thinking, I'm reminded of Shesha Nag. I'm surrounded by snakes. There's so many wires everywhere. Like when you're a kid, right? Don't what they say? Wire, wire, pants on fire, right? Wire, wire. Isn't that what they say? Wire, wire. Okay, so let's start. Everybody have a pen so you can take some notes. Put your name on this little paper because I actually put this together this morning. The reason being that if you have something that we can take notes on and take with us, sometimes it helps us remember things better, and also it's something you can take home and have with you. So this is a little bit of an overview, and I left some blanks there. We can fill them in because a lot of good ideas can come from everybody in this room as well. I'm going to walk around. Is that okay? Is the camera going to go crazy if I'm not sitting in one place? Where's it showing me? Where's the boundaries? From here to bigger picture? Okay, that's good. Okay, that's better. Good. Okay, so let's just brainstorm a little bit. Why do we need good relationships with devotees? You know, somebody could say, hey, so many people perfected themselves. They went to the Himalayas. They went to the caves. No problem. We can name so many rishis, right? Sometimes rishis is described, they have mystic power. They go to the bottom of the river. They don't talk to anybody. Why do I have to have a relationship with devotees? It's so much more peaceful, you know? Come on Wednesday afternoon. No one's at the temple. Come in the back door. No one sees you. If you see a car pull in, run away really quickly so you don't have to talk with anybody. You know, sometimes it seems like that. But why do we need good relationships with devotees? What are some reasons that we... Okay, that was about 3 answers at one. So one was just because we live with people, isn't it? We're not sages in the Himalayas, right? If you go to work, I mean, these days more and more they give you flex hours. You can stay home on Friday. But they never say, why don't you just stay home till 2026? Right? You just stay home for 8 years, right? They give you maybe 1 day, but the other days you have to interact with people. So we live in a world with people. Okay, what's another one? Okay, good. Bhakti's based, and fill in the blanks too there in your sheets. Bhakti's based on devotional relationships. Right? What are some other reasons? Of course, that's a big umbrella one there, but what are some other reasons associated nicely with devotees? Yes, Prabhu. Oh, good. That's very nice. Very nice. Devotees together, they work to serve Krishna. Yes. Yeah, we want to minimize quarrel between the devotees, certainly. If we have good relationships, it's going to minimize strife. And sometimes it happens. I supervise a bunch of temples, and it kind of seems like, when one temple's, everybody's getting along really good, another one they're not. When those relations get fixed, then it breaks out someplace else. So yeah, it's important we do that. Yes? Very thoughtful. Great, very good. That's a really deep, thoughtful answer. That if we don't have good relationship with devotees, then we're going to look for those relationships elsewhere. And those people relate to, they affect what we do in life, right? What your friends do, you do, kind of a thing. If your friends are all coming to the temple and chanting Hare Krishna, you're going to chant Hare Krishna. If your friends are just doing mundane things, you're going to do those. Yes. Good, good. If we have good relationships with ourselves, there's kind of two answers there. We can cooperate in spreading Krishna consciousness. And also another thing is, if we have good relationships, it will spread because people will see, I want to be with these people. They have nice relationships. And if they visit a temple community and everybody's not getting along, who wants to be like with these people? Okay. So if Krishna is the devotee of his devotees, how can we say we don't want to have anything to do with them or not apply our energy to have good relationships? Okay, that's good. Those are some good answers. Anybody else? One more burning thing to add to the list? Yes, Prabhu. Very good. That's great. Very thoughtful. Yeah, they're our foundation, our framework, our support. Very good. And Prabhu, you had one more? The soul's need. Yeah. Very good. At our core, right, we're all looking for relationships. That's who we are. Great. Okay, well, if there's so many wonderful advantages, then the next question there is, why is it sometimes so difficult? Because we're different. What do you mean by that, we're different? You mean like we're odd, we're strange, we're weird, everybody else gets along? The whole rest of the world gets along, and we're you're a little different. So you ask people, I like this. You're like, what? How do you like this? Sorry, different. How was my singing today? Different. So what are the Hare Krishna people like? Different. They're different. Okay, what did you mean by that? Okay. Okay, good. So we're different individuals. Yeah, we're individuals, and we have different opinions and different tastes and things like that. Yeah, good. What's another reason that it's difficult sometimes? Ego issues. But if our ego is that we're all devotees of Krishna, why should that be an issue? Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, so we have our, kind of similar to have our different sense of identity. What comes with ego sometimes? Pride. Pride makes it difficult, A lot of times when there's differences, it's very hard to say it was my fault. Very hard to say that. very hard to say, well, actually, I started it or I contribute to it. Okay, what are some other reasons why it's difficult? Yes? The mind. We could blame everything on the mind, couldn't we? In what specific ways do you mean when you say the mind? Okay. Very good. So the mind brings a whole bag of tricks, right? Remembering the past, Where was I? I read something. Oh, it was a story told by Abraham Lincoln that he was a great storyteller, and he was speaking about this man. He reminded of the past. This man who was on his deathbed. And he told his family he wanted to sell. He didn't want to leave in an angry mood. He wanted to work out all his relationships. And he said, I want you to bring this one person you've been having a quarrel with for 20 years. So they said, I want to put this aside. So they brought the man there, and he apologized for any mistakes he'd made. And the other man said, I'm sorry for whatever I've done. And they said, okay, let's let bygones be bygones. Forget about everything. And this is great. And they were both had tears in their eyes. The man got up to leave, and just before he got to the door, the man on his deathbed said, but one last thing. If I recover from this, our feud still is on. So the mind, right? I remember 27 years ago, you said something unkind to me, and I'm never going to let you forget that. So yeah, good. The mind brings up so many things. Yes? Okay, good. We don't have good communication skills, so that leads to some breakdown. Very good. And that can happen a lot of ways. Yeah, we don't hear each other properly. We try to explain something, and we don't say quite the right way. We're going to talk about some tips on that. Good. Yeah, assumptions. We make different assumptions, and based on that, we have some relationship problems. One thing I learned from Braj Bihari, who teaches a lot about conflict resolution, is that I know my own intentions, but I don't know the impact. So I say something meaning well, but I don't understand the effect it had on other people. From your side, I understand your impact on me, but I do not understand your intention. But I project. I was just on the phone yesterday with somebody saying, yeah, but they did this, and this, and that means this, and that means this, and that means... Whoa. You can tell about what effect it had on you. You felt bad, but you can't say they meant to make you feel bad. You can't say that they should have known better. That's you're guessing their intentions. You can't know that. So yeah, that's a good thing to kind of keep in mind. So something happens and I'm in a hurry, I'm trying to do some service, and I blurt something out. Hey, don't do that right now, you should do that later. Of course, my intention was all good. I was trying to get to serve the deities, and I only was giving you good instructions. But meanwhile, the impact, maybe you, the third person today who's said some harsh words to me, I don't want to come back to the temple again. Everybody deals with me so harshly. I have no idea what the impact is. But, good point, very good point. Yes? Expectations. We have so many expectations and unmet expectations, and they say unclear expectations lead to a lot of problems in relationships. Good. We can maybe summarize it up by saying it's Kali Yuga, isn't it? And what Prabhupada, what he translates that into what? The age of what two things? Quarrel and hypocrisy. Yeah, so little quarrels come out of such small things. Especially, it seems to be getting worse. You hear about people, and the other day, that horrible thing, where did that happen? You might have seen the video. Somebody, you probably saw it, an African-American couple pulled into a 7-Eleven. You hear about that? They pulled in like a convenience store, and they parked in the handicap spot, which they shouldn't have done. Some white guy sitting in another car. Maybe the race didn't matter, but I'm sure it added to the tension. Some white guy gets out of his car, walks over, and starts telling the lady in the car, "You're not supposed to speak. You're not supposed to park here." They got this all on video. You can't hear their words, but okay, which he shouldn't have done. Who seated John? He's just a sit. It's not his job to go out and tell somebody don't park here. The husband, or maybe boyfriend, I don't know, of the woman comes outside, sees this guy yelling at his wife, and gets angry, which he shouldn't have done. So he pushes the guy, which he definitely should have done. The guy falls down, happens to be in Florida, where there's a law you can carry a gun. Pulls out a gun, which he shouldn't have done, shoots at the guy, and kills him. And you think like, wow, Kali Yuga. This all started because they parked in a parking spot they shouldn't have parked in. It's okay, you're a policeman, give him a ticket for $150. Otherwise, why are you getting involved? And why are you pushing? And so it's just, you think a person's dead. Because, it just happened within the last week or so. It was a big thing in the news. And it's all just age of quarrel. Things should just a little spark and explosions happen. So, difficult time. So, to bring it back down to devotees, after seeing how crazy it can get with Kali Yuga, we can see lots of good reasons we need to have good relationships with devotees. They help us make spiritual progress. It's described. Lord Chaitanya said, Prabhupada wrote, Lord Chaitanya said the most painful thing is to not have association with devotees. Prabhupada in purport in the Bhagavatam says, if you think you can become Krishna conscious without the association of devotees, you're suffering from a, hallucination. Said it's a hallucination. It's like a dream to think you can become Krishna conscious without. So just as far as our ultimate purpose of life is very important. So here's just some basic kind of tips in mind, and then from here we'll go into listening skills, and then we'll look at this more broadly in the afternoon, how to build relationships with devotees. But one thing very important, we use this terminology in communications a lot, that we should try to think of the other person's needs, interests, and concerns. We all tend to see the world from my ego, from where I'm sitting, and I'm inside this body, and I like things to be a certain way. There was a nice Mataji was sitting just by the deities this morning. I was trying to get some of the notes straightened out, and she was very enthusiastically, loudly reciting the Shastra. Now, from her perspective, I would say she's often in devotion. It's a wonderful thing. It's what temples are for. But my sensors are telling me, you're distracting me. It doesn't need to be that loud. Can you please be more respectful? Of course, she didn't even know I was there. So I see things in terms of what I need. I need it to be quiet. I want to be able to focus on, and then she's seen it for what she wants to do. I want to chant and glorify the Lord. Now, if there's good communications, clear expectations, and I walked out and tried to very respectfully say, could you chant a little softer? So she gets what I need, I get what I need. But we tend to see the whole world in terms of my needs, interests, and concerns. So just as an example, in communications, we talk about, let's say, I'm going to go ask the police for permission for a parade, for Rath Yatra. So they were going to have Rath Yatra in Naperville. So I go to the police to get permission. Now, the way I would see things from my needs, interests, and concerns, or what's important to me, I would say we really need permission because we want to bring the Lord of the universe out of the temple to benedict all the fallen conditioned souls of this age. And we want as many people as possible to hear the holy name because that's Lord Chaitanya's mission. And we wanted to super shot him to a lot of people because we want to purify them because that's our purpose. And personally, my Guru Maharaj asked me to take up this service, and we all know how important it is to serve one's spiritual preceptors. And we're hope Lord Jagannath looks down on us mercifully with his big beautiful eyes, and we'll all be purified. So that was kind of a nice description of what we think Rath Yatra is about. But from the police perspective, does it make any sense at all? No, not at all, not at all. because they have different needs, interests, and concerns. So what are some of the needs, interests, and concerns of the police in that example? What are they concerned about? What's important to them? Traffic jams? Good. Safety? Crime? Traffic jam, safety, crime. Okay, what else? They want everybody to follow the laws, right? Generally, if you're a policeman, you want to know, you want to know what's going on. Isn't it? Police don't want to get a phone call. Hey, there's a big cart 40 feet high driving down the middle of the street and the cars are really upset. What? They want to know exactly what's going to happen. Okay? So, what we say, crime, security, traffic, okay? So let's say, so when we go to the police department to talk about getting a permit, we think and we should communicate in terms of their needs, interests, and concerns. Dear Captain, first of all, one thing they need is also, I'll add to the list as we go, they want respect. Isn't it? You never want to disrespect a police officer. So we communicate based on their needs, interests, and concerns. Dear Captain, respectfully, thank you very much for allowing us to come. We'll organize this wonderful parade. We wanted to give you full information. So like Bing, that's one of the things he wants. We're organizing in such a way. We need your oversight to help us understand and make sure everyone's safe, or these are the steps we've taken to make everyone safe. We obviously going to organize this in such a way under your direction to minimize any traffic problems. You'll be happy to know that in other cities, the police officers have told us, and this is true, when they have this parade, the crime rate actually goes down. There's statistical evidence of that, etc., etc. I'm not going to talk about Jagannath. I'm not going to talk about his lotus eyes. I'm not going to talk about the holy name. I'm going to talk about security, safety, following the laws, not blocking the traffic, etc. And they're very happy. Oh, this sounds like a great event. How can we help you? Because I communicated in terms of their needs, interests, and concerns, which are different than, say, I'm talking to a reporter about the same thing. What are some of the ways I might explain Rath Yatra to a reporter? What would I say? What are their needs, interests, and concerns? To a reporter, like a news reporter. How would I get their interest? Well, let me change the question. What kind of things are they interested in? Festivities? Cultural? Diversity? Any event that draws a lot of people? Something that's newsy, unusual, colorful, photogenic? We got all those things. So to them you talk about this is going to be an event's going to attract a lot of people, that's very colorful, that's very cultural, it's a lot of diversity, and they're like, oh, I want to come. If you go to the police and say it's going to be colorful and cultural and diverse, they're going to go, I got it, but I don't care. Tell me about the safety, isn't it? And if you go, yeah, but you don't understand, officer, we're talking colorful here. I mean, we're talking some of the men even, I mean, they shave their heads for this. This is a big deal. I mean, have you seen a picture of Jagannath, Captain? I mean, he is colorful, right? They're going to throw you out of the office without your permit, isn't it? So, time, place, and circumstance. You know, when we're speaking with, I kind of make a point. I didn't do this for years. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but if I give an example about something, I once want to throw an example about, talk about how we have to overcome envy. So I'll throw an example like, we all know how disturbing it can be. Some of us know how disturbing it can be if you go to a big event and somebody else is wearing the same sari. And the guys are all, what? Right? But the ladies, it's like, right? You got invited to the White House and you walk in and there's a woman there from another that you know, and she's got the exact same sari on you have. That'd be a big challenge, right? Maybe not, you're transcendental. But for a lot of ladies, it would be a big challenge. I'm giving that an example of how using examples for what's of other people's needs, interests, and concerns. If we just give examples that are relevant to brahmacharis, or only to sannyasis, or only to men, or only to women, or only to adults, it doesn't connect with as many people. So think of other people's needs, interests, and concerns. Be proactive. What does that mean, be proactive in terms of relationships? Good. Foresee the consequences. Very good. What else could it mean? Take the steps. That's hard. The relationship's not doing too well. Sometimes it's really hard to be proactive, to reach out, to try to heal the relationship, mend whatever problems are explained. That's really tough. Sometimes we kind of feel like, well, maybe next lifetime. But in general, to be proactive. You move in a new neighborhood, don't wait and see if the people are friendly. Maybe proactive. You go knock on the door next door. Hi, we're the Sharma family. We just moved in the neighborhood. Nice to meet you, and appreciate it. I got 3 kids. How many? Whatever, like that. So being a little proactive. In terms of in the temple, being proactive, building relationships with mean, going out of our way to make sure everybody's connected, has a sense of friendship. We don't see somebody for a while, being proactive to contact them. Is everything okay? Are you all right? Or I heard your mother's sick. Is there anything I can do? Taking prasadam, to being proactive in terms of relationship building. And then the third point there, think win-win, which is when we're working on relationships, think in terms of mutually beneficial things. We tend to think in terms of, oh, he's a good cook, sign him up. I think he can handle about 15, 20 hours a week, no problem. But we should think win-win, which is we want to help him have the opportunity to do some cooking for the Lord. And we want to do it in such a way that it's not an overload and he gets inspired by it, etc. So take the time to think about mutually beneficial. Because generally we don't, and especially sometimes as devotees. Because, we've got Krishna on our side and we know we're trying to do what's best for the world. So we just kind of jump in and whatever my thoughts are. Whatever my thoughts are should be good. But stop and think about it. Is it really for the benefit of everybody? Okay? And then the last one there, somebody want to read that? Why don't we all read it out loud together? Remember. Yeah. Because sometimes in relationships there's some tension that we want to, we want to change the other person. I like her, she'd only change this one thing. Etc. Or, he's okay person, but this is an issue. But we can't change that. The one person we can change is ourselves. So if there's some problem in a relationship, it's a good place to start is what can I do better? And even if there's again, it's tough. It's easy. I'm just watching myself here sitting. Yeah, it's so easy to say. But then if I think about some relationships that I've had that have been strained, it's very hard to do it for myself. But we have to be proactive. Or if there's some strain in a relationship that we understand, okay, I can't change them in terms of their behavior, but I can change my reaction to it. I can learn to be focused more on the positives. Okay, maybe they're just making things up. Maybe somebody's excessively loud and a little, aggressive, bordering on obnoxious. Okay, we can, they're so obnoxious, I don't like it. Or we can think, they are so enthusiastic. They're so wanting to meet other people, and because we all have room for improvement. So we can change the way we perceive that, and we can change the way we interact. Okay? So that's just some general background of sort how we can do better, and we can apply individually in our own situation. So now we want to spend some time on listening skills, because, and we have a video we'll show later. We're going to do a skit right now of a conversation between an authority, like a temple authority, and this particular skit was kind of designed with a resident devotee in mind, but it could possibly also be like a congregational member. We could just a little bit, but as you'll see, the devotee is approaching their authority with some need for some guidance, and the temple president's not responding with the best quality of listening. So if you can watch that, and maybe is there a blank sheet on the back? I think it says additional notes. Maybe flip there, and we're probably going to try to squeeze a lot of things on that one page. But maybe you can jot down some things you might notice that could be improved in the listing, and then we'll come back and debrief that, okay? So do you want to come up, Prabhu? So we have a little script here that we're going to more or less follow, but we only have one copy. So if we are looking over each other's shoulders, please forgive us for that. Okay, so you can just imagine I'm in my office and what's your name?
Rohini Nandan?
Rohini Nandan. So Rohini Nandan Prabhu's come to talk with me about some concerning. Maybe let's stand here so that one knows. Okay? Okay. Haribol Prabhu, how
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
how can I serve you, Prabhu?
Prabhu, I just visited India and I came back and just had a visit to India. I came back and it was a nice visit to India. And I'm just thinking about my services here in the temple. And
I think you took the Bhakti Shastri course, right?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. I had a nice time in Vrindavan. I attended the Bhakti Shastri and I got an 85%.
Really, you got an 85%?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you, I got a 98%.
Oh, great.
And then they said actually was one of the highest scores they had since it started. Yeah, I was impressed.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu. And then we went for a Vrindavan parikrama, and parikrama was so good, and I had so much of very nice experiences, and I feel like I had some great insight into the holy name.
But that really, when I went on parikrama a couple of years ago, I don't know if I told you the story. We were in this one village, and people actually came out and they offered puja to us. Gave us garlands, and they put chandan on our head and flowers at our feet, and it was very inspiring to see how people appreciated us.
Yes, Prabhu. Vrindavan is a very touching place. Yeah. It changed my heart.
Made it when I was in puja.
Wow. Sure, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. And something happened to me. I got some deep realizations into the holy name, and I really started thinking, my life, my spiritual life, is it going in the right way? And I started thinking on something deep, on, I should take up some different kind of services, and something transformed in my heart.
Prabhupada said we shouldn't be like monkeys, jumping from place to place to place. He said we should have one service, one location, we should stay there. You know how important it is to please Prabhupada.
Yeah, and I further, it is not only that, Prabhu, like I visited my family, and for Diwali, I spent some time with them, and we were watching a movie about a great Indian philosopher, and it really touched me, how an old person, he was going, suffering, he's meeting death, and then he was so attached to his family, and how he's suffering to leave up that attachments, and he's so.
So you went home for Diwali.
Yes, Prabhu.
But you actually were watching movies.
Yeah.
And karmi movies.
Yeah, just spending some time with my family.
Sounds pretty mental to me, Prabhu. I can understand. Now I'm understanding why you're disturbed.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Yes, you're watching movies like that.
Yeah, but I was spending some time, some connecting, some good time with my family, Prabhu. Yeah. And I was really thinking about, my life, the spiritual life. I need to focus on my services. I think I should need to focus on, some meaning to life. After seeing that movie, I felt like life is so temporary, and all these relationships are so, something.
What was your relationship like with your father? I mean, were there some issues there that we need to talk about? Or?
No, I had good relationship.
Your grandfather?
No, I liked him.
Your father's grandfather?
I liked him, Prabhu.
Sounds.
Yeah, Prabhu. And I'm really thinking of, changing my role into the temple commander, I think. I think that will be a better role for me, rather than being an accountant, keeping track of all these, how much dal and sabji and vegetables our temple is buying and selling.
I really appreciate this conversation. I really appreciate you coming and talking to me.
Yes, Prabhu.
It's important we have these heart-to-heart talks now and then, after all, but the thing is, Prabhu, I'm supposed to go shopping with my wife.
But Prabhu, I thought you had some 10 minutes for me. Or?
Yeah, that was 9.5, Prabhu. That was 9.5. So here's the thing. I really appreciate your service, Prabhu. And Prabhu said, stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. So let's do this. This is July, okay? Why don't you stick with your accounting service for, let's say, another 6 months. Come back, see me in December.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it some more. Okay, is that good? I think that's what Krishna wants for you, okay? But just hang in there, Prabhu. Okay, you're a sincere guy. Just thank you very much. And I really enjoyed this time. Yeah, I'm coming, Devi. Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Okay. Done. Thank you. Okay. Hopefully you'll agree that was a dramatization, but have you ever found yourself in a conversation a little bit like that with different people? Sometimes where you're trying to express yourself and maybe it's a little bit of a wall. So what were some of the things that maybe you noted down that not such good listening? What were some of the things that I was doing there? Yes, Prabhu. I just wasn't even trying to listen. Okay, that's a good one. Not even trying. Okay, good. What else? Yes, in the back.
So the listener was all, the authority was all focused on himself.
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, he's trying to talk about what's important to him, and I'm just all about me. Good. Good. Yes, very judgmental. Very judgmental, yeah. Yes? Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. Anything else? Yeah. I know, I'm not even sure what the problem is. You just tell him what he should do. And yes. Yeah. Okay, so self-comments, judgmental. What else was he doing pretty regularly? He's cutting off, interrupting. Right, okay, good. And how did you feel after that heart-to-heart talk we had there, Prabhu? No connection. Yeah, not understood, not connected. You feel inspired to go on with your accounting service? Not at all, right? And how about 6 months? Was that a reasonable window before our next conversation? No. It's okay. So not such good listening. So look, we're going to talk about how we can be better listeners. And you can turn to page. It's numbered page 2 in the little handout there. Some of these you mentioned, so we'll highlight some of these. These are first to look at some poor listening. First being just ignoring, which this person was kind of doing. Really, it was kind of like ignoring, not really paying much attention on. So ignoring and making no effort to listen. Pretend listening. Pretend listening is sometimes somebody comes to speak with us and we're like, Googling how far is it to my next meeting. Or something like that. We're pretending to listen. We're not really listening. We're not really focused in. We're just pretending. And then selective listening means we hear the parts that were of interest to. See, in this example, when he started hearing, I think I should change my service, then he perked up. Oh, change your service. Before, I'm just in Vrindavan talking about my 98%. Oh, change your service. So that part I heard. I wasn't happy with it, but at least, So selective listening. I'm not listening to what he or she thinks is important. I'm just being very selective. And then autobiographical listening, which you pointed out here, which is somebody's trying to speak to us, and we're listening, but we're just waiting to talk about it in terms of our own experience. Oh, I also went to Vrindavan. Oh, I also took the test. Oh, I also did so good. Now, we know sometimes it's helpful if we're encouraging, preaching, counseling devotees or peers in other environments. Sometimes it's helpful to share our own story, but as a piece of the conversation, not the overriding theme of it, because otherwise it just becomes we're not listening, we're just talking. Okay, so let's talk about how we can improve some of those things. There's a couple nice instructions in the middle of the page.
Number 1, diagnosis must precede prescription.
Okay.
understanding comes through listening.
So, in terms of our relationships with other devotees or with family members, etc., we understand people by listening to them. You know, Prabhupada even, I think it's in the Isha-Upanishad, he writes about, in a different context, but same thing. He says, a fool is never known until he speaks. Right? So someone can be dressed very nicely, but as soon as they open their mouth, they're, oh, this is a foolish person. So you can understand by listening to them. So in a positive way also, we understand others by listening to them. And the point being, if we interrupt them, or like I said, what's your relationship with like your father? We try to psychoanalyze, and we're not. None of us have the skills to do that. We interrupt, we talk about ourselves. Then we block the understanding. And when we block the understanding, then we're blocking the relationship. So first of all, realize I need to listen. I need to learn to listen, and we're going to talk about how to do that. And that not only need to learn to listen, but I have to diagnose, in other words, I have to think about it, I have to understand it before I can come up with a solution. Example given, if you can imagine if you went into a doctor's office, we've all been to a doctor's office, and let's say you walk in and somehow you hurt your arm, you slam the car door on your elbow or something, and you walk into the doctor's office, and what do you expect to happen? Okay, in America you fill out all the forms, but then when you actually get to see the doctor, what do they normally do? What's the first thing they start doing? Yeah, somebody ahead of time, maybe they do some interview or something, and then they what? Either in written form or verbally, they're asking questions, isn't it? So how does it feel? When did you hurt it? How long ago was it? Is it throbbing? Is it this? Is it hot? Is it worse at night, worse in the morning? All those different kind of questions. And then they prescribe, or they give a prescription or some kind of plan to cure it. But you can just imagine if you walked in a doctor's office with your elbow, and the doctor just looks at you and goes, don't worry, I can take care of it. I can see it. It's a heart issue. It's a heart issue. And nurse, is there any time in the operating room this afternoon? Yes, doctor, 3 o'clock. Okay, 3 o'clock. Open heart surgery is the best thing. Can you be consideration? And just sign this document here, and I'll see you at 3 o'clock. Don't worry about a thing. You do have insurance, don't you? Right? I mean, would you stay and wait for that person to take care of you run out the door, isn't it? So in the same way, in terms of our spiritual life, sometimes we jump in with premature solutions. You know, and usually a good way to tell us a premature solution is that the sentence starts out with this: you should. If the sentence starts out with you should, there's not a lot of listening going on. So you walk in to see the doctor, you expect him to say, what's wrong with your elbow? And he immediately says, you should be here at 3 o'clock for the operation. You want to make sure they've understood you first. So they've got to listen to you first. So the same way in our relationships, first we have to become good listeners. Okay? So how do we do that? We're going to do a couple things to practice. First thing is just there's some physical aspects of good listening. I didn't do too much here, but you know, oftentimes when we're trying to listen to people, we mentioned ignoring and pretending. Sometimes people, they're typing on their computer, or they're surfing on their smartphone or something like that, or they're looking at their watch, or they're looking the other direction. They actually, one of the things when they after like presidential elections, they try to figure what are some of the things that causes, why did it turn out the way it did? I remember when Bill Clinton, before he was president, was running against the first George Bush, they were having these town hall meetings. That's when they first started having those. So President Bush at the time kept looking at his watch. So he's in a room full of maybe 75 citizens asking him questions about policies, and there's maybe 30, 40 million watching at home. And, you know, Bill's there just looking friendly and engaged with the people. And the president just keeps looking at his watch. So if you're in our meeting, I keep looking at my watch. Okay? I may be thinking I'm listening, but what message am I sending? What's the message behind that? What am I communicating by looking at my watch every couple minutes? What's it say? Shampoo.
My time is much important.
My time's very valuable here. Yours may not be. Okay? Yeah, good. Is that a good thing to say to voters? We're going to give you a job or take away your job in the next couple of weeks? No. What else is it telling people? I got a lot more important things to do than this. I mean, my gosh, look what time it is. It's after 12. I got to get out of here. Right? Okay? Anything else to say? Sometimes it means I'm boring. I got more important things to do. My time's more valuable than you are, and I'm bored. So if you're a voter, what do you think? Well, I'm bored with you, and I think as valuable as your time is, you need to be doing something other than the President of the United States. So I'm going to see what I can do to give you a lot of free time, because you're out of that office, because I'm voting for the other guy, isn't it? And they actually look back, and it's one of the things they attribute. You know, it's a small piece of the puzzle of how that change came. Because just because he wasn't thinking about what they use this term, body language. You know, we can use the exact same words, but depending on the tone, it has a different message. So first thing with listening is if something's down here, soul, S-O-L-E. If we're listening to somebody, someone comes to talk to have like an important conversation with us, take the time, you know, sit down with them and observe these things. So the first one is soul. Be aware of your sitting posture. Let me borrow this chair here. Simple thing, again, simple, but a lot of times simple are the most powerful. If, say, Sham comes to talk to me about the fundraiser, what's the message? I have no interest, it's not important, go away. He's not getting inspired with me. So, sitting posture. You know, sit, facing, okay? Sitting up straight, back straight. Children, I want to hear them. I'm focused on this conversation. Okay? What's the name of your sheet? Open body length. That means if you sit like this or like this, it may just mean I'm cold, but they don't know that. It sends a message I'm blocking. There's some kind of block. So open body language means, again, unfolded arms, feet on the floor. And again, it sends a message. There's no physical blocks to the message, okay? And then, what's the next letter? Okay. Listening attentively, okay? Attentively listening. Trying to not let my mind go so many places. Oh, I was in Vrindavan too. That's not the point of this conversation. It's about, I raised money once too. Did I ever tell you the story about listening to what he has to say? And then, last one? Eye contact. Okay, again, part of the body language. Making some eye contact. You don't have to stare at each other. How much money have you raised? Yeah, that's not, you know. But some eye contact, okay? So we're going to practice this in a couple minutes. We're going to, so keep that in mind. When you're having a conversation, catch yourself and think soul. Okay, am I sitting straight? I got open body language. Am I listening attentively? Am I making some eye contact? And you see it, that in itself will make a difference in the impact with listening. Now the next thing we're going to practice, some of you have done this before, I'm sure, pathic or reflective listening. This is a type of listening skills, and there's many skills. This is a preliminary one, but I think it's about 70% of effective listening. Yes?
Can I ask one question?
Please.
Eye contact.
Okay. Culturally, you adapt accordingly. Yeah. Yeah, like I know I taught some of these things in China, and they said, you don't look at a superior in the eye. Okay, you adapt. You know, generally in our culture, like, you know, unmarried man, unmarried woman would, actually, this culture, they look at each other more. But putting that aside, you know, generally men and women, you don't look at each other so much, but it's not, I mean, we don't have to be Lakshman. You know, that was before, and that was an example, you know. But, you know, she can make occasional eye contact. You know, it's appropriate, okay? I had something the other day. I heard a woman was speaking about, and I thought it made a lot of sense. And she was saying this to the men in the outside world, but she was saying, don't stare at me, smile at me. So I thought that made a lot of sense. Like, you know, a man might see in a woman, he's looking at her. It's like, that's an object. If I smile at you, it means you're a person, isn't it? So in a similar way, we can look respectfully. We don't have to, accordingly. Is that right? Okay. Okay, good. So let's read this top section.
To assure you understand. Empathic listening skills in part give others psychological air, open space in which a person may explore feelings, vent emotions, and feel understood without being judged.
Okay, so let me interrupt. So this is a skill that just helps us listen and helps the other person express themselves better. Instead of interrupting and interpreting and all those things, it just gives people the ability to speak. It helps us get to understand more clearly whatever the problem or thing is they want to express to us. Okay?
These skills include accurately reflecting back the feeling and content of what the person has said. This allows the person to feel understood while clarifying understanding on both sides. It is a practice in the mode of goodness, showing a desire to hear and not to jump in without premature solutions or suggestions.
Okay. We have a tendency to jump in with premature. This example we had, this devotee who's been doing nice service for years, and they went to India and they got inspired and they're thinking about deeper questions of life. I just didn't jump in. No, stay with your service. I didn't ever hear at all what's really going on for him in his life. I just jumping in with premature. For the doctor, this says heart surgery. It's a premature solution. So this is a skill that helps us, gives the other person the opportunity to express themselves and really think about what they're saying, and it helps make sure we heard what they said. So they're able to express better, and we're making sure we've heard. Now, if you go to the bottom of the page there, here's a few things that we don't want to do. And they have their time and place, but with reflective listening or empathic listening, we want to avoid these kind of things. Just somebody says, Prabhu, I'm having difficulty with my japa. It's really hard for me to focus my mind. So reflective listening would be to reflect back the feeling and the content of what they said. Okay, so Prabhu or Mataji, so if I understanding, you're feeling a little sad and concerned that you're having trouble focusing on your japa. Yeah, Prabhu. And then, you've heard me. Wow. Because what do people normally do? Prabhuji, I'm having trouble chanting my japa. Are you eating at night? Isn't it? We immediately go there. Or, hey, I had trouble chanting my japa too. Here's what I did. So, okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. It shuts us down. Instead of somebody says, I'm having difficulty chanting my japa, and they respond with, I can understand what you're saying. And it seems you're feeling a little, disturbed by the fact you're having trouble chanting your japa. It's like, wow, they actually heard me. It's like the doctor saying, so it hurts in the morning? Yeah, doctor, you can't imagine. It opens up. I want to say more. But if he says open heart surgery, ooh, I'm not going to say another word. So, for having trouble chanting my japa, oh, you're eating too much. Oh, you should do what I do. Oh, here's what I do. Okay, thank you very much. No point talking to him, right? It's just natural reaction. And what's that do in terms of what we're explaining here, devotee relationships? When we have this sense that I can't talk to him, I can't talk to her. Every time I talk to her, she talks about the 98% she got when she took the Bhakti Shastri. Start getting a nickname, old 98%. Right? Every talks to 98%. Okay? So what it's not, on the bottom of the page, advising, you should eat less, probing, what was your relationship like with your mother? Are you eating too much at night? Etc. Interpreting. Oh, you're having trouble chanting? We know the Shastra says you must be offending the holy name. Right? How do you feel when they tell you that? Oh, okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay. Or evaluation. You're having trouble chanting. You're having trouble chanting japa? That's ridiculous. That's terrible. That's what karmis say. Which is a terrible word we should never use because it's misinterpreted, It's like, so we don't want to advise, we don't want to probe, we don't want to interpret, we don't want to evaluate. We just want to listen. Okay? Now, again, a little bit up from the bottom. Helpful phrases to acknowledge understanding. When someone's speaking to us, just instead of responding with "you should" or "I think," or just to start. Okay, if I understand you correctly. Everybody see where I am? I'm like in that third section down there on page 3. Sorry, the order's a little different than. But if I understand you, okay. So if I heard you right, you're seems to be feeling a little kind of disturbed, depressed, maybe a little bit because you're having trouble changing your job. Okay, so I'm not adding to it, I'm not subtracting to it. I'm saying if I understand you correctly, and then repeating the feeling and the content. Or I think I'm hearing you saying something like that. Understand you correctly. There's a bunch of examples. As I get it, you felt that. What I guess I'm hearing you say. Those types of questions, okay? And then, before we get into practicing a little bit, there in the section where it says it's helpful to reflect. These are the reasons why it's really good for us to reflect.
It's helpful to reflect. Number 1, to assure you understand. Many disagreements are resolved simply by clarifying misunderstandings.
Okay, good. A lot of times there's difficulties. We just haven't understood. If we jump to a premature assumptions or conclusion, we may not have a right. So it's helpful just to make sure we understand. If I understand you correctly, this is the problem. Okay?
Number 2, to let them be heard. People sometimes just need to be heard or valued and don't need a solution to feel better.
Okay, so just a simple example. Does everybody understand what they're saying there? Sometimes you just want to be heard. We all have, there's some burden we're carrying, and it's nice to have a friend or, devotee in the community or family member, maybe just a little bit less, just a pinch. And we just want to talk it out. There may not even be a solution. Maybe we don't want a solution. In fact, the last thing we want is to talk to somebody who's going to try to give us a solution. We just want to talk about it. So, simple example, maybe let's say, okay, this is July. Okay, so maybe I could say, this is the 15th at Prabhu, can I talk to you a minute? Or it's the 15th anniversary of my father's passing away. I'm feeling a little sad today. So reflective listening would be, if I understand you right, you're really feeling, you're missing your father, and it sounds like you had a really meaningful relationship. See, they said they're missing the father. If I, as opposed to sometimes what we do, I'm feeling some separation, a little disturbed because my father's passed away 15 years ago. Mataji, he's not that body. First chapter, Bhagavad Gita, first teaching, second chapter, Dehi no shminyatade, hey, come on. One who laments for neither the living nor the dead. That doesn't help you, So we just want to be heard. And somebody says, oh, they sound like a wonderful person. Yes, they were. They actually came to the temple once, this, that. They raised me and had me, whatever. They taught me the Ishopanishad. Just talking about it, we feel better. So that's the second benefit of this skill. And it deepens the relationship just by listening. We don't have to tell them what my father was like or how I felt. Just listening can really deepen the relationship, okay? Third one.
Number 3. To reveal inner understanding, often just expressing oneself to a sincere listener leads to answers within.
Okay? This is a kind of mystical aspect of this listening skill. Sometimes just by speaking about our problem, it almost works like a mirror. That's why they say reflective listening. So I'm speaking about my problem and they're reflecting. If I understand you, you're having this issue and this is your feeling. Just by hearing that, it helps me, oh, actually, yeah. And sometimes we'll find ourselves saying, well, I'm not really, maybe they said, you sound angry. Well, not really angry, but feel let down. It helps you clarify your own sense. So in that way, it's also, again, notice there's no solutions here. We all tend we need to have to kind of solution, but no solutions. Just sometimes the answers come from within. Okay? And then the fourth one.
Number 4, to build trust. Before solutions can be explored, trust must develop.
Okay? If someone listens to you attentively and seems to understand your feelings and your concern, does that help build trust? It really does, doesn't it? And if they jump in like this doctor, just jumps in with his, do you trust him? No way. You can get out of there as quickly as you can. Okay? So let's have everybody now break into pairs, and you can move your chairs a little bit if you like. What I want you to do is maybe like say, Shama, maybe you two can just move over a little bit. Just get a little bit away from the other devotees so you're not disturbed by another conversation. And then I want you to turn your chairs so you're facing each other. So you're looking right at each other. And for this one, maybe not so many spouses. If your spouse is here, maybe get with somebody else just for this one. Because we'll let you practice more at home later. Okay? But we need you in twos. The ladies' side and this chomp team, you're all in a bunch. You're in a group of 6 over here. So just pick a partner. Twos. Okay? And then, so like, let's say you two just move over here a little bit. Okay? And then maybe you two can just move back there just a little bit so you're fully ready. Okay? And then turn your chairs towards each other. And first thing, look right at each other. Okay? And now I want you to take a minute. Go ahead and turn your chairs so you're not even bent side. You're completely facing each other. Okay? So the first thing is individually, I want you to think about some problem or challenge or difficulty that you're either dealing with now or you've dealt with in the recent past. Something that you could actually talk about. Something with some substance, not like, I ran into the pole and I've got to pay $500 to fix my car. Not like that. Something more like, a couple questions came up last night. I'm struggling a little bit trying to balance my commitment to my service and being at the temple and my job. Or, I've got a 15-year-old son or daughter and they don't want to come to the temple as much anymore because they want to spend time with their friends. I'm not sure what to do. Or I've got an elderly parent and, they're in India and I'm here, or they're in California and I'm here, or, the variety of things like that. So everybody just give you 1 minute in silence. Think about a problem that you could talk about with here. That it's real enough, there's some substance, you can have a conversation about it. It's not just a real quickly answered issue, but also something that you're comfortable that you can speak about. Okay, but it should have some meaning to it. And while we're doing that, I'll come back and explain our threesome, what we're going to do. Everybody individually, without talking, just think of a problem. If you need to, you can jot something down on your paper just to remind you, but think of something you can talk about. Okay, everybody have a problem you can talk about? Don't start talking yet. Don't start yet. Premananda Mataji? Premananda Mataji? Don't start yet. Oh, that's okay. That's such a good problem, they can't hold back. Okay? Okay, now a couple things first. Before we start, I want to see soul. Remember, what is soul? Show me soul. Okay? Sitting up, right? Sitting, open body language. Listening attentively. Sometimes they also say leaning forward. So sometimes leaning, like leaning forward a little bit. Yeah, like that. Leaning forward. That's good. And then a little eye contact. Okay? So that's soul. Now I need an A partner and a B partner, and one of you will be C. So you guys, A, B, and C. So who A, raise your hand. Who's A? Doesn't matter. Just one of them. Just one in each team. Okay, remember who you are. Okay, so A is going to start out by telling their problem. Okay? And in the beginning, is there a pair of cartels around or a little bell or something? Okay, good. So in the beginning, we're going to do this with some kind of strict timing just so we can practice it well. I'm going to give you a fixed amount of time, like a little less than a minute, 45 seconds, something like that, for A to tell your problem. Don't stop, just keep talking about it until you hear the bell ring, cartels. When the bell rings, who's B? B, raise your hands. Okay? B, you, after listening very attentively, okay, and watch what happens. As soon as they start talking, you're going to want to go, you should. Or, same thing happened to me. Or, wow, that's offensive. Or, really? That's terrible. Or some other type of inappropriate response, okay? What you want to do is train your mind to just listen to what they say. Like japa, Hare Krishna, hear what they say. Then when I ring the bell, you start out by responding. If I understand you correctly, let's all say that together. If I understand you correctly, and then tell them the feeling and the content. You're angry about this, you're worried about that, you're fearful of this, you're doubtful about that. Okay? Then I'm going to ring the bell again after about 30 seconds, which usually is just about the right amount of time. And then A continues to tell their problem. We're going to go back and forth 2 or 3 times. Okay? Now, as a footnote, if you find, usually it doesn't happen, but just in case, if you reach a point where you think your partner is just saying the same thing again, then you can ask what they call an open-ended question. We don't have time to study those in detail, but basically, you can ask them, what solutions have you considered? But don't go there in the beginning. That's like a fallback. If they say the exact same thing again, you're reflecting. You're really upset because your wife overspent the credit card bill and you had a big fight about it last month, and etc. And then just comes back and says, yes, the exact same thing. Then you can go to that. But basically, and I don't want to confuse you all, if I understand you correctly, repeat the feeling and the content, okay? Are you joining us? Yeah. So she should just sit and watch because there's too much to try to re-explain everything. So she can sit and watch one of the groups and then she'll learn as we go, okay? But can she get the handout? That would be really good if she could get a copy of the handout, okay? So any questions on this? So A, what's your job?
We have to speak and express our...
Yep, tell your partner your problem. B, what's your job? Listen attentively and reflective, and if I understand you correctly, and what 2 things? The feeling and the content. Okay? Great. And like I say, we'll go back and forth a couple times, and then we'll switch roles. It's harder than it sounds. So start out listening very carefully. Okay? And with the group here, what he's going to do is if he sees anything that's not quite right, he's going to stop and say, and I'm going to come around and listen to you, so no cheating. Don't switch to Tamil or Hindi or, Telugu or Bengali or Marathi or Orient, or don't cheat when I come around. Okay? All right, let's go ahead. You can start. Okay? So A, start telling your problem.
Prabhu, nowadays, I'm not happy that I'm not spending time with my family. Case also sometimes students guys. So I'm not happy with this. Is really going to spending so much time.
Okay, B. If I understand you correctly, okay, A, continue telling your problem.
So, like it says, whatever services I have shown now, so based on the amount of time it takes to leading to fulfill the services and lack of volunteers nowadays right now. So, it makes me really more but the science itself is good, but the thing is that I end up spending so much time I'm not spending enough time for specific benefits. And I see that now I'm doing values. They're actually looking at my phone and they're asking me to spend so much with them. And I have taken all of it.
Okay, B, if I understand you correctly. Okay, now, I'm not going to read it out anymore for a few minutes. Continue telling. A's going to continue telling. B's going to respond, but I'm not going to interrupt. So just let it go kind of a more natural pace. If you find that they are just repeating themselves, there's no B so far, so it's good. Then you can throw in some questions, what solutions have you considered, then go right back to your question. Basically, if I understand you correctly, you're feeling this. Just let the conversation go on naturally. Okay? Okay, go ahead. Continue.
So I feel sometimes myself also worried about the future of this. Like sometimes when I was at they don't have they feel the reason why it's not consciousness is one of the reasons they get but they also my time practice I find that that's what still is so they may go away. So I don't want to have somehow I don't know what to do, but I feel that the amount of services that I have right now otherwise I would have to stretch and I keep on balancing handling solution. Yeah, I thought one thing is I'm thinking of right now, like what is the time that I want to put in myself and actual time that I'm putting because of so many other constraints. I would have considered only like 2 hours, but if maybe the constraints is more than and sometimes maybe just to get the open work and something like that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not done yet. And also I feel that nowadays there are many so many people means more services. We need only 1 year concert, which is not happening. So that somehow that will be so that it's not a burden on any one person. So that's what I feel. I don't know how long it will take to that I try to spend some time to give you I never spoke. I'm also I could understand their feelings. They miss. They want to speak. They want to tell what they feel. Their feelings and their concerns. They want to express. So they want to be to listen, spend time. So that's what I could see that which I'm not satisfied. That's what I mean. Somehow I have to spend time with them, at least the time for us. I'm not going home. So sometimes actually sometimes earlier we never want to do anything. Now we have to do so many things. We have to so basically because I take time out. He has last but not least time is point of we can have the others actually yes, maybe I have some time, but we can just live in it. Follow the church and we have to see that every program is have one thing. Like Sunday, whenever we celebrate festivals, and every once in a month, daily festivals, and that's it. We have an answer.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to switch. Okay, we're going to switch. So, B is now going to tell her problem. We'll do the same thing with the timing. Let me just help them organize it here. of the times I listen to him, it's pretty good. Sometimes you get a group of people following this, and you go to the first group, and the first thing you hear is, "That's really Maya." Then you have to stop and explain to them. Then you go over here and do the next one. Say, "Well, you know what I did in the same circumstances." Blah, 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 blah. And then you go to the next. Actually, when they say, "Well, if I was in your situation, I would definitely need that temple because I think I'm blah, blah, blah." You all do very well so far. Yeah.
Question. So regarding the reflection time,
Yes.
so we should be mindful like spacing is.
The reason I time it is because just after doing this a bunch of times, and I kind of found that, you know, a certain amount of time, the majority of people gives them enough time to say something of substance. And then usually about half the minute gives enough time to respond. So you kind of keep the whole group focused. But in real life, somebody might need to go on and on and on and on and on and on, but that's harder because then how can you reflect back and all that? So you just kind of pace it as seems appropriate, okay? And then, yeah, the bells are there just to kind of help us track. Okay, everybody ready? Clear who you are, what you're doing? Okay, and B's telling you the problem, right? Okay, go. Okay, so if I understand you correctly,
I understand it. It's tough and say that it's not finding a great lot. And our parents are doing the whole. They don't pretty much there are the rules.
okay? Continue with your problem.
Go to
Okay, continue with your problem, and I'm not going to ring the bell. So just go back and forth naturally. Sometimes they do that.
What might the solution be? Have any solutions that
Okay, well, let's pull our chairs back. We'll discuss. I was really impressed by the quality of listening, at least when I popped in. Maybe when I walked away you changed. At least whenever I came around I was really impressed, because it is a fact. Sometimes when I do this with groups and it's like you go, this group is nice because you can interact with everybody, but sometimes there's 20 groups out there and you go to the first 4 and they completely are into you should. And then you got 30 seconds, so this is very refreshing to see what a good job. But let me ask you, was it easy to reflect? Yeah? Okay, she said that so confidently on behalf of the whole group. Thank you. Thank you. Who found it a little difficult? What maybe was difficult about it? What were some of the difficulties? Okay, she's going to answer that one too.
I mean, when I was hearing, like, I was doing a lot of content.
Okay.
One challenge I found was there was a lot of content to capture.
A lot of content.
And at some point I felt like the other person just want to speak.
Okay.
And I kind of felt like I just need to be there.
Okay.
Not saying anything. It just want to flowing out.
Okay. Good. And you would not want to interrupt them, because I think, was it you or somebody there asked the question, how long did you let it go? And the answer is as long as you need to let it go. And then it may just be something like reflecting back and saying, that sounds really hard. Sounds like you're under a lot of pressure trying to figure out which of these options you want to do. So maybe you can't get all the detail of the content. More important, as you said, is that you're there, that you're hearing. So good. So sometimes the volume of content may be difficult. Okay?
I feel like it is, like you said, a lot of pressure. That I have to pay attention so much.
Okay.
So that I don't miss any point.
Okay.
So
But you responded well to the pressure. You responded well to the pressure.
So, but I did feel like I had to put 100% there, so
Okay.
here. So that was little.
So part of the challenge was just really listening and not letting your mind go other places.
Mine was very easy. I was just
Yeah.
like,
It's especially hard for people who have management roles, and sometimes they say for men, we're going to show a little video about that in a few minutes, that, sometimes we just want to go to a solution right away. I mean, I noticed that even in one or two of the groups, somebody was reflecting quite nicely, and I was feeling the urge to offer the solution. And I go, boy, this is really tricky, Even as a facilitator, I want to jump in and tell them, I want to prescribe without first diagnosing. What were some of the other challenges you felt there? One was the pressure to jump in. The other was a lot of content.
that I may miss out some information if I'm not fully attentive.
I didn't follow.
Like if I'm not paying attention,
Okay.
I'm just concerned that I may miss out.
You may miss something. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. That's very sincere concern to have. Good.
One thing specifically with Veda was because he's younger than me, and
Yeah.
I'm like a little like a caretaker kind of a role.
Okay.
So when she started sharing, and because now I'm in the exercise, I was really patient, but otherwise I would have jumped in and said, I'll help you, you know what, we can do it together.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you want to jump in and solve it for them.
Yeah, it's like, it seems like an affection, but then at the same time it's prematurely like intervening
Okay.
without hearing. So that's
Okay.
what I felt.
Yeah, just as an aside, they have a term for that, which is we don't want to be enablers. That term is like, they use it a lot. Say somebody has a very harmful or destructive type of behavior, and we have to be careful. We don't want to jump in and solve their problem. They give the example that I just remember it, like to say it's a dramatic example, but you can get the picture. Someone has, say, an alcohol addiction, and they, disappear from the house for 2 days, and then they, come back, and they haven't slept, and they smell of liquor, and, the whole thing. And, the husband knocks at the door, and the wife opens the door, looks at him very upset, and just says, take a shower, and I'll get you breakfast. Now, she may feel she's being compassionate, but the people that teach you things, actually she's enabling him. And in those cases, again, it's a dramatic example, but they teach a spouse in that situation, lock the door and basically tell him, clean yourself up, you need to get help. But she's enabling him. So jumping in and solving the person's problem. I'm really sorry to hear that you have trouble keeping in your budget and you're spending all the money on things that you don't really need and you can't get through the end of the month. Let me give you $100. So is that helping them? You're enabling that behavior. So it was a good example. Thank you.
One thing that I also noticed was that when I was just hearing, towards the end she found the solution.
Okay. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Hold on. That's very important. That's a very important thing to share. Any other obstacles you felt or difficulties in trying to reflect?
When Prabhu was expressing the problem, I didn't do it, but my inner mind is saying, I would try to generalize the problem in the sense, this material world is a problem, Prabhu, whether we live in US or in India, it's the same problem everywhere.
Yeah.
So like that kind of a generalize and take away the problem intensity from. So that was coming, but I purposefully stopped it. And
you were trying to solve his problem, and here, if I can share, with all good spirit in his heart, he was explaining a problem, and he was saying, well, it sounds to me like you really, really care, and you're doing everything you possibly can. Don't feel so hard on yourself, which is a natural tendency. But in this case, it's not. That's a good skill that needs to be used sometimes, compassion and help put an arm around somebody's shoulder kind of a thing. But in this case, it doesn't help because we want to just help them go deeper in understanding the problem. So yeah, that's another challenge too. Sometimes we're too, in his case, he's too compassionate like that. So these are different kind of obstacles. How did it feel like? What was your experience? Well, first, raise your hand if you felt your partner did a pretty good job of reflecting. Okay, I think so. Good, good. Okay, great. That's very good. What did it feel like when they reflected? What was your experience? What was it like when they reflected? Yes, Prabhu.
I'm speaking as a third person because I didn't get to do it.
Okay, yeah, because you did two of the roles.
Right.
In this group there was three, so he observed and then he spoke. Right, okay.
So when I was observing them speak, when listening was done properly, reflectively, so the speaker was more encouraged to come forward and reveal more things. Otherwise, there was like a block.
Okay, good, good. Did anybody else experience that yourself? Did you, or?
I felt lighter.
Lighter.
Because when I spoke what is in my mind, then kind of, okay, that light felt.
Okay, so the burden of the problem was lessened. Okay, good, good. Any other experiences when your partner?
I felt happy when we came to the solution because at the beginning I felt it's a really bad problem and I'm not able to fix it. So I was happy when we came to a solution.
Okay, so in your conversation you actually came to a solution. So she's going to come over to your house and take care of the problem? Was that the solution? Was it? Really? Oh, but she's so close. It's easy for you to fix her problem. Okay. I thought you started out saying something a little different.
Finally, she came to a point. She just said, I need help. Can you just, if you have time, can you help me?
Okay. Okay, sometimes that may be there. Not the purpose of the exercise, but it's appropriate sometimes. Well, that was in a sense, that was kind of a, maybe going to actually take a little further, which is, okay, understanding the problem, reflecting, helping her, and she actually gets to the point, I need some help. Can you help? And that's okay, because you really understood what the issue is then. Because as we know, sometimes they give an example. I wasted a sheet of paper here. Let's say here's the water, and here is, I'm not an artist. Here's the iceberg. Okay? So this is what we see. And this is underneath the water. And what do people talk about? Which part do they generally talk about? This part, right? So, like an example, somebody may, the temple example comes to my mind. Somebody may say, I'm really having difficulty getting up in the morning and going to Mangal Arati. And you start reflecting. So if I understand correctly, you're having trouble getting up and going to Mangal Arati because you don't have any association. And then, it's not really that I don't have because you've heard me, and as you feel a little lighter, you feel, I think some of you said, you feel you can speak more. It opens, that, remember it says, gives open air. So this person starts saying, well, it's not that I don't have any associations, that I'm fighting a lot with devotees. See, that was a whole other problem. Because the first problem was you get him an alarm clock, because he's having trouble getting up in the morning. But now it comes out that actually he's having trouble with it. So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is you're having difficulty associating with devotees and you're feeling kind of upset about that. Yeah, it's not all the devotees, but these two in particular are really picking on me. Okay, now you get on the other problem. See? And even though the role is like a parent or a friend or a senior, maybe at some point you have to help find a solution. eventually jumped in to help with the solution. But if we're just dealing with this solution, Prabhu, I'm having trouble sleeping at night because, in the ashram. Okay, well, I'll get you an alarm clock and some earplugs. Anything else? No, Prabhu, that's all. Like this, like this conversation, no, Prabhu, it's shut down. So using the reflective listening helps make sure we get to what the real issue is. Okay? Other reflections, Sham, you going to say something about the experience?
In my case, I was very fortunate because I am he's the person who always listens to me.
Yeah. So, you've done this before? You have this conversation?
Yeah, and
good.
He has excellent quality being a listener. I would say one of the best in our community.
Good.
And he's professional. He does this.
What's your profession?
Professional.
Petroleum engineer or something like that.
Product management.
Product management. They're not always the best listeners, so it's a personal skill.
Yeah. So again, I learned a lot of these things from him. How the challenges will always be there, but we have to accept it and listen more. He's one of. I take him as a.
So when he was listening to you, how did that make you feel? What happened to the conversation?
First of all, more than just listening, I feel like he understands me.
Okay.
And we all, both of us, work together for God. We understand that a lot of challenges are there and we can't solve everyone.
So do you feel strengthened by the fact that he understood you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Did the problem go away?
The problem cannot go away all of a sudden, but yes, we find...
okay, the problem didn't go away, but you maybe felt a little more enthused to deal with the problem?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me ask this. Did any of you find through the conversation... Well, let me go back. Who felt better just having your partner listen to you? Did anybody have that experience? Okay, good. Did anybody have the sense that by their reflective listening, I kind of came to my own solution? Oh, wow, that's great. That means there's some very good listening going on. What was that like? One of you ladies want to comment on that? What was it like? You don't have to give us the specifics, but what happened? How did, how was it you came to your own solution?
So first of all, when Mataji was listening, I felt that by her reflecting, it made me feel that she really listened very carefully, and she understands what my problem is or what I was talking about. And then when she reflected, and I kind of put some solution in my head that, whatever she said, I, kind of got that there is a solution, and I just need to work on it.
Okay, so, but you didn't get any particular solution, but you gained faith that there is something.
Yes.
Okay.
Faith.
Okay, good. Did anyone actually have a solution percolate up, Mataji?
She made me come up with my own choice, like what to do.
Okay, helped you clarify your own choices?
Yes.
Okay.
And I felt like I can handle it. I thought it can be taken care of.
Okay, good. So you got a little more clarity on what you should do. Did she tell you what to do?
No, she made me think through what can be done.
Good. That's the idea here. We want to help people think. I had experience one time in Mayapur a few years ago. I think I'd just given maybe once a year get to give a class, and I think right at the class some Brahmin I never met before in my life came up and said, Prabhu, can I speak to you for a few minutes? I had a little time, so I said, sure, let's sit down here. What can I help with? He said, Prabhu, should I get married? True story. It's like I had never seen this man before in my life. So what are you supposed to do? If you can't, like if you look at our typical responses, well, you know, Prabhupada said you should stay renounced if you can, right? Okay. Or, well, you know, in my own case, I've experienced blah, 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 blah. I mean, how can you do that? You go autobiographical, or you start to prescribe, or you start to judge. How can you ask this question? You're wearing saffron. How dare you? You know, you judge him. All not good responses. So, you know, what can you say? Well, it sounds like you're kind of struggling over what ashram you feel you should like to live in the rest of your life. And then sometimes in certain cultures, and sometimes I see it more in India than devotees living in the West, there's a tendency to go, yes, what should I do? It's like, give me the solution. But, you know, that's not a solution, that's not a problem somebody can decide for you. That's a very personal choice. And most of this discussions we're talking about here, I mean, you know, there's a couple families here, and I know it's a very typical thing for devotees with families in India, right? It's a big dilemma a lot of times about, I feel I should be there, or they can't come here often enough, or I'd like them to move here, but they can't. A lot of times there's no solution to that. It's not like, and you know, and I could tell you, oh, I'll tell you what I did. You know, I moved them here and this and that, and you know, my father joined a bowling club and he's happy, you know. That solution is not going to work for you, is it? So if I just try to tell you, it's just, you know, it's counterproductive. So you're thinking bowling, yeah, right, bowling. Yeah, you never met my father, you would never, you know. So the reflective listening can really, really help. And a lot of times it does happen. It's a mystical aspect of this type of communications. This reflective listening, a lot of times people come to their own solution. Just by hearing, by having it reflected back, because it gives you a chance to think about it. And I know sometimes, you know, experience, your mind is so kind of wrapped up. It's like those toys that kids play with the top, right? You take that spinning thing, you just wind it, and you can't think. So somebody's just talking and saying, I'm really confused. Well, it sounds like you're worried about this. Yeah, I'm really worried about that. I'm not sure if I should do this or this or this or this or this, and my mind's going a million miles an hour. If I understand you correctly, your mind's, you know, you're really feeling disturbed inside because there's so many options in front of you. And when they say that, you want to talk more. You found somebody who's willing to listen, as opposed to somebody just says, you should chant japa and purify your mind. Maybe I should, right? But that's not going to help. So this reflective and being open just gives me more and more space to kind of go deeper. And just if you look at it as an example, let's say as a person, say an authority with a, somebody who's underneath you in the hierarchy, or age, or whatever. Even if you have a good solution, we all know if you come up and tell me your solution, it's hard for me to just take that. Isn't it? And we also know, according to the Bhagavad Gita, where does all knowledge come from? Where's knowledge come from? Even if you have a great idea, who does it come from? From Paramatma, right? Krishna's, right? So if I have a problem, and by your listening to me, as you were doing so nicely, if by his listening to you, Shyam comes to his own sense of what he should do, who's giving him that knowledge? Where's that knowledge coming from? I should do this. Paramatma, right? And remind me your name again. Sorry. Vittur. Prittur. If Prittur tells him what the solution is, I botched that because she's laughing at me already. Pratul. Pratul. Okay, good. Now you know why I had such a hard time in French class. What? Can you say that again? So you have to have a good ear for languages. So Pratul, if he gives Shyam Prabhu a solution, where's that coming from? Paramatma. If it's the right one, okay. So yeah, Paramatma doesn't mislead us. But if he has a great idea for the solution, it's coming from Paramatma, right? And if he has a great idea solution, it's coming from Paramatma. So two Paramatmas, right? So the question is, and in all seriousness, is which Paramatma is Shyam more likely to believe? His own Paramatma, isn't it? So even Pratul has got the perfect answer. If Shyam says, I've got such and such problem, he says, here's your solution. Even if it's right, he's not going to be, even if they got a great relationship, he's not going to be as likely to accept it as if he helps him by taking the time to think through the problem and he comes to his own understanding. So let's just to review this, let's go back. Yeah, comment.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So if a person comes with a problem and the solution also, right? A temporary solution maybe. I mean, in this process, we just need to hear and then reflect and then agree with the solution, or?
Let's go back to the middle of the page. There's 4 things that are going to come out of this, where it says it's helpful to reflect. Once you read those one at a time. There's 4 results from this. Okay, go ahead, get the mic. Go ahead, read the first one.
To assure you understand, many disagreements are resolved simply by clarifying misunderstandings.
Okay, so many misunderstandings come because we're just not clear. So somebody is upset about something or they have a problem. So if I understand you correctly, this is the problem. Jai Shishiranamana. Okay, so it's helpful there. That's one way it's helpful. Second one?
To let them be heard. People sometimes just need to be heard,
okay, so
valued.
Good. Sometimes there's no solution. You know, I'm feeling bad because my mother passed away. You can't bring her back. There's no solution. But just by hearing, I feel better. Okay, so that's the second benefit.
To reveal inner understanding. Often just expressing oneself to a sincere listener leads to an answer within.
Okay, and I guess about 30% of the time that happens. You actually come to some solution of your own just by them listening, and you feel so grateful. And then the last one.
To build trust. Before solutions can be explored, trust must develop.
Who felt your trust in your partner go up when they were listening nicely? It's very powerful. And we're going to talk this afternoon about the importance of trust. So, let's say I reach a point I really do need help finding a solution. I can't figure it out, and it's not just something I want to feel better. I really need help finding a solution. And you may have some suggestions for me, or maybe even you're in a position of authority and you need to share those with me. Like the doctor. Okay, maybe I did need surgery, but I needed it for the elbow, not for the heart. Okay? But even if I just walked in, he looked at it and said, you need surgery. So, whoa. You know, even elbow surgery. Wait. I have no trust in you. But through the process of listening, not trying to prematurely jump in, that trust is developed. So at a certain point he says, I really do think, we could try medication for a week, but, because of this and this and this, it looks like it's getting affected. I really think we're going to need to do surgery. You can have trust in him. Same thing like with devotional or interpersonal relationship. If they've heard us, it helps establish trust as a prerequisite to offering some solution. Is that okay? So we're not saying that in every situation there isn't some solution to give. And as we know, a lot of times problems that come are very simple things. Mom, can you give me a ride to the mall? Well, okay, I can in half an hour. You don't need to say, if I understand you correctly, you really want to go and get some new socks. It has a time and a place. But in the same way, like, Mom, I need to go to the mall. Don't worry, I'll take you half an hour. Requires a certain response. Mom, I'm really unhappy. I'm not going to go to school tomorrow. Okay, typical response. You are going to go to school tomorrow. Okay? What's that do for the heart? Whoa, does that close you down? Or I can tell you're upset. I had the same problem when I was a young girl, and I can tell you right now, you just got to get over it. You got to be tough, because that's when they get you through life. Well, okay, maybe it worked for you, Mom. Didn't work for me. Again, shut down the relationship. But, okay, whoa, alarm goes off in the mother's head. Ding, 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 something's wrong here. Let's talk about it. Sounds to me like you're having a pretty tough time in school. Tell me about it. Well, blah, this girl said that, and this happened, and I slipped in the middle of the floor and spilled ink all over my favorite dress, and I cried in the middle of the room, and need a big hug. And maybe needs a solution because there was a bully and that she's going to help, but you don't know. Or maybe she just needs to talk about it and to feel trusted and to feel loved with all her relationships. Is that okay? Okay, good. So again, it's a tool. It's a tool, and it is a very important one. So we talked about the 4 benefits that are there. We all had a chance to practice it. We did a great job of practicing it. We got a couple minutes left, and then if you want to set this up for the video now, Prabhu, we won't turn it on quite yet, but we'll just get it ready. I just want to, because I mentioned open-ended questions, so I should explain those a little bit more. In terms of communicating with people, 2 kinds of questions, open-ended and closed. A closed-ended question is one that evokes a yes or no answer. An open-ended question, you get lots of information. So in different situations, you're going to want to use different kind of questions. Let's say, for instance, what are we doing? Can we just 5 more minutes? Don't everybody get up and leave yet. We have a very funny video to watch in just a minute. Okay? So, okay, we just got to get everybody refocused for a minute. Okay? No, we're just waiting for everybody to focus again. Okay? That was some harmonic convergence where a conversation broke out here. 2 people walked out of the room that way. 2 people walked out of that room. 6 people gave advice on the PowerPoint. And there was 1 person in the room focused on what we're supposed to be thinking of. Actually 2. He was patiently waiting. Okay? So open-ended questions are very useful. They give more information. Okay? So let's say last night, I gave somebody this morning, yes, I gave Devotee this morning some Maha sweets that he was going to keep and bring back. So let's say when I go to how do I work this in? So closed-ended questions would be something like this. So Prabhu, I got to pull the cord here. Thanks. So Prabhu, let's say the sweets disappeared, okay? Prabhu, you can just say yes or no. For now, you start off. Prabhu, do you have any idea what happened to the Maha sweets that I gave you?
No.
Prabhu, devotees reported to me that you were downstairs in the Maha refrigerator about the same time they disappeared. Do you know what you were doing at the Maha refrigerator at that time?
No. I was not there, I mean.
Okay. And could you explain those crumbs in your top pocket there, the tulsi leaf and the burfi stains there? Okay.
That was last Sunday feast.
Yeah. He was trying to give me open-ended answers, but he failed. So close-ended questions when you're trying to really tighten things down. So, did you take the car last night? Well, let's just say I'm asking, did you take the car last night? They can say no or they can say yes, right? Did you see the accident? Did you drive away from the location? Did this happen? So it helps focus. But in other times, if you say like, it sounds like you're feeling upset about the problem. Is that open or closed? It sounds like you're upset about the problem. Now what's the definition? Open-ended question means what? Can be answered with? Yeah, open-ended means it's opening, getting more information. Closed-ended means can be answered with a yes or a no. Okay? So if I say, okay, did you take the car last night? Is that open or closed? Okay. Was there an accident? Closed. Okay. What happened? Open. Did you leave the site of the accident? Why did you leave the site of the accident? Open, because it gets more information. So it's a good skill to have, to be aware. If you're trying to get more information on a particular problem, ask an open-ended question. So, you don't want to say like, You knew you were supposed to clean your room, didn't you? Okay, that's a closed-ended question. It's just like, yes, I knew, or no, I didn't know. If you say, why weren't you able to get your room cleaned? Say, well, because this and this and this and this and this. So it's a way of dealing with information to get more information. Now, what we're going to show in just a second here, is it hooked up? It's always the danger of, here, just put it in. Okay, it's here.
How do we enable it?
Usually just plug and unplug. 13. It was on. It was working an hour ago.
Make it direct.
I was in an event the other day, and someone was making a presentation in front of about 200-300 people, and they're having trouble with a PowerPoint. And a woman I was sitting next to leaned over, and she said, I was in an event, and I can't remember, it was either like, I don't think it was Steve Jobs, it was either like Steve Jobs, or who's the Facebook guy? Zuckerberg, yeah, I think it was Zuckerberg. So I was in an event with him, the PowerPoint didn't work, and she said he had to ask somebody to come and help him turn it on. So I felt so much better. You know, if Mark Zuckerberg has a difficulty getting the PowerPoint to work. But this should go. We had it. We should have just left it on. It was on a couple hours ago. So while they're doing that, okay, now this is going to be a test of your concentration. If you're not directly involved in that, look over here, because getting PowerPoints to work is always such a fascinating thing to do that everybody wants to watch it. It's kind of like Didi Darshan or something. It's just all attractive, you know. So what I'll lead this to, because hopefully we're getting, yeah, okay, good. Introduction to this. So you see where it is? It's coming? Okay. So something's coming. So what this is showing here is that it's a little parody about listening skills. And just as we talked about, we tend to go to solutions and not want to listen. And particularly, they've done some studies that men in particular are more likely to go to solutions. And I actually saw something here today in this group that I hadn't seen before, and I was surprising, but I learned something. There was a couple of the groups of the ladies, usually like with the men's side. My usual experience, and maybe because usually, like in India, if you go international meeting, it's maybe 2/3 men, 1/3 women, so that may be affecting it. Usually I have to say, and what was the feeling? Like you got the content, what was the feeling? Were they happy? Were they angry? Were they upset? What was the feeling? And then the devotees, oh yeah, you felt like that. And today, a couple times I had to say, what's the content? I never had that happen before. It was really interesting because they really had the feeling. A couple times, like they really got the feeling. You're feeling this. You're feeling this. You're feeling this, and I'm thinking like, yeah, but why? You know, feeling that way because of what? You know. So what this little skit does, again, it's a dramatization, but it's kind of making fun about how the way men tend to go to solutions, and women, it's more about the feeling. And just as a thing, you know, as a little advice for those of us that work with people of the opposite gender in the workplace or in our home relationships, is men, be aware of the fact that a solution is not often what's desired, and women have mercy on us because we're programmed to look for solutions. Now, and it's not all the way across the board, because sometimes we all need solutions and sometimes we all just need to be heard. It tends to lean more like men go towards solutions and women oftentimes just want to be heard. So the classic example they give is the man who comes home from the office and the wife who comes home and she tells him that, you know, I'm so fed up working with Harriet, I'm just going to quit tomorrow. And the husband's response is, well, you know, on the way home I saw a sign they're hiring people at the other hospital. And her response is, well, what do I care? Well, because you just told me you wanted to quit your job, so I was offering a suggestion that they're hiring at this other place. Well, I wouldn't want to work there. I love where I work. Well, I thought you just said you were having trouble with Harriet. I was, and if you just listen to me, I could talk about it more. Okay, I'll listen. So she said this and this and this and this. I think you should file a complaint with the HR department. Well, why would I want to do that? Well, because you just, goes. So, she's just expressing how the day went and not really in need of a solution. Again, we all have our masculine and feminine tendencies, but, the more feminine side is just want to express ourselves. The male side wants to go for a solution, okay? So this is a funny, anybody seen this before? Who has not seen it? Raise your hand if you've not seen it. Okay. All right, so this is called, and I don't know what that is. Sometimes those just pop up. This is called, and we have the microphone there. This is called It's Not About the Nail. And I can't see it on my screen. It looks like it's not at the beginning. Okay, good. So you're at the very, very beginning? Okay, so just kind of jumps in a conversation between a husband and a wife, and you'll see what happens, okay?
It's just, there's all this pressure, And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless, and I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail...
See, you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. All of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Come on, if you would just...
Don't!
Try to take things my way. Do I have to keep on?
I want to be listened. I want to be heard.
Yeah. She just wants to be heard. Yeah. But it's funny, isn't it? So, yeah, example. Any questions on that? Obviously this is a dramatization, it's just making fun of different natures. But the idea is, again, just summing up the reflective listening, that listening can help clarify the problem, it builds trust, sometimes the other person just needs to be heard, and sometimes they come to their own solution. So it's a good tool to use with communications, okay? So we just go downstairs and take lunch?
So that's what I wanted to ask. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Okay.
I really appreciate that. It's
So-
wonderful.
Okay, so take a half hour?
I was just wondering, getting in after that. And
But
one
we
other
sh-
thing is, Dhananjay Pandit Prabhu told me that
And we should decide the answer should be one that doesn't take too long. Okay, so we don't waste time.
also Dhananjay Pandit Prabhu told me that I think he did quite a bit of cooking there, and he needed some help in cleaning the pots, if somebody could help. So what is the time we are meeting back here again?
Can we come back at 1:15 or 2:15?
Yeah, I think so. We can, yeah.
Is everybody 2:15?
Problem.